What is up, everyone? Today we're going to be taking a look at this purple HP laptop. This machine is a little bit under the weather, and I don't really take machines in anymore. I just don't have time. But I said yes to this one because I knew I had a pretty free weekend, and also I thought it would make a decent little video. And I've looked at this laptop before. I couldn't for the life of me remember when it was, and also I couldn't remember what was wrong with it, but I remember saying yes to this person before, and I remember it being a purple HP. So I was trying to figure out what I'd done to this in the past. So I was looking back on the channel and couldn't see any videos. I've never made a video of this one before, but when I was unpacking the case, I came across this, which is the previous job sheet for this machine, and it is dated October 2015, which is pretty damn crazy. So according to this sheet, I didn't do anything to the hardware before. The original complaint was it was slow. I fired up the system and it was chock-a-block with awful stuff. So I cleaned it right up. I gave it a full-on clean by the look of this report. You know, all of the usual, and install the several expired trial versions of various antiviruses over the years, sort out the viruses themselves, uninstall all of the bloatware, just clean up the system in general. And yeah, I gave it back in a much faster condition than when I received it. But this time there's an actual problem with the machine, which is cool. So we will maybe get a chance to actually delve in a little bit deeper this time round. And that explains why I never made a video of this previously, because there was nothing really wrong with it. It was just a typical slow machine. So when you fire this puppy up, yeah, we get a little error, and I will put a photo of the error on the screen right now. It basically says, the system has detected that a cooling fan is not operating correctly. Continued operation is not recommended and may cause unpredictable behavior. Oh, it's just gone off. Try again. That could result in random shutdown, data loss, or possible system damage. The system will shut down in 15 seconds. To prevent shutdown and continue operation, press the Enter key now. They give us a URL on that page, and I think it would be rude not to visit said URL. It is a brilliant place to start. Let's see what HP say about this fan problem, and we will tackle it from there. So I was just about to start moaning about the HP website and how it took me to a link where we had no information about the fan, but then I saw there was another column over here and the exact error was on the site. So it just says blow out the fan, and that will probably blow out all the dust and it'll work. And it says if not, then you can reset the system memory in order for it to forget the previous thermal state in order for you to be able to save files, blah 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 blah. Yeah, so pretty boring and not really that helpful. So I think the first thing we should do is disconnect this bad boy, and the last thing, well, yeah, the last thing I want to do is blow a load of air into the cooling vents without looking at the condition of the machine inside. And the main reason for that is I don't really want to dust up my workspace here too much. So let's open this machine up and take a look at the dust situation inside the machine. Okay guys, let's get a close-up under the keyboard here. This is nasty. Really not nice. So I'm going to carry on with disassembly, and we are going to look further inside. And I think the best thing to do would just to get the Hoover up here and just suck it all out, because there is so much dirt floating around. Okay folks, after some compressed air and some very, very careful vacuuming, we've got the majority of the large chunks of dust out of here, and unfortunately we still have the same error. So I was really hoping it wouldn't come to this, but I've got no choice. I'm going to have to take a closer look at this fan. So let's disconnect all the cabling from this motherboard, remove the motherboard, and see where we go from there. Alright folks, so we have the motherboard successfully removed. I'm going to need to reapply thermal compound because I'm going to need to take the heatsink off the CPU, and then I'll be able to get a closer look at this fan, take the entire cooling assembly off and see exactly what is going on with it. This has turned into a bit of a bigger job than I thought, but that's often the case. And I'm also a bit underprepared for a complete disassembly of a computer. Don't have any screw organisation or anything happening. But yeah, I'm not really in this sort of thing anymore. It's actually a nice change and kind of therapeutic in a strange way. So yeah, let's get this thing up and running and see if we can leave here with a happy customer. The culprit. Finally. That is caked. Nothing can move through there. Absolutely nothing. So there we go. One solid piece. That is why the fan would not move. That is horrific. Absolutely horrific. I'm quite impressed though. So we'll pop it there. And yeah, I'm going to clean up the remainder of the fan, pop it back together, and then we will have to begin looking for some thermal compound in order to reconnect this heatsink. Found a handy tube of MX4, so very happy about that. Didn't have to hunt too long. Cleaned off the CPU, cleaned off the heatsink, and also cleaned out the fan. I've just reconnected the fan, so can't show that to you, but it's completely clean. I've obviously reassembled the fan, and yeah, a bit too much thermal gloop, but this is going to run a million times better than it did. Alright guys, moment of truth. I have popped a stick of RAM in, just so that it posts. Let's have a little look and see if we get the error. What? Dude. I can only assume at this point that the fan is dead. Well folks, that's it for this particular day on this particular machine. We have got a failed cooling fan, pretty sure anyway. So yeah, I'm going to call it a day up here. It's a Sunday, going to chill with the family, and we will get back to this at a later date once I get some parts. Well, once I get a fan. I shall order one of those today. We will resume when I've got a fan. Okay folks, it is a few days later and I have got exactly what I wanted, and that is the replacement fan. It came today, so all that time waiting, I could have had this done the other day, but yeah, I needed a fan because I'm pretty certain the other one is completely broken. So I partly reassembled this just so that I had less little pieces left over. So what I'm going to do now is rip this apart again, get the motherboard out, get the cooling system off of the CPU, and then we can replace the fan. So pretty much do it all over again, but that's okay. At least we're a little bit closer, or hopefully a lot closer, to solving this issue. So only about 3 or 4 minutes into this little part and I've already hit a hurdle which is going to delay this even further. and it's my fault, which is even more frustrating. So here's the board, and here's the cooling system attached to the board. As I explained, I put the machine back together. Of course, we needed to try this in order to determine if the fan was working or not, which we saw that it wasn't, or it's very likely that it is not, considering it's not spinning at all. So we ordered the fan, and, well, I ordered the fan, and I ordered the wrong bloody fan. So for those of you who have a keen eye, you'll see that, just by glancing at them, they look relatively similar, even down to this little groove on the side here. But check this out. Here we've got 3 wires and a 3-pin connector to go with the 3-pin header on the motherboard. And here we have an additional blue wire, bringing the grand total of pins up to 4, and it's the same type of physical connector. There's no difference. However, this is a 4-pin one, therefore it is wider to adopt the extra pin. So I can only assume that this is a PWM controlled fan, whereas this one is not, just due to the extra wire. You could probably get this guy to spin up in this machine. If I was to painstakingly remove this connector and attach it to this fan, I could probably jiggle it about and get at least some kind of movement from this thing in this board. But the machine may not be happy with that, and it may not be adequate, because this, of course, even disregarding the connector swap, this would still be a PWM fan, and I don't really know the score in terms of plugging a PWM fan into a non-PWM fan controller or fan header. So gosh, this is not good, and it's my mistake, which is annoying because it adds time for the client. In this case, it's kind of okay because this is a sort of favor job anyway, as I was explaining, so that's not a massive deal. But if this was a proper client, then that would be a huge bummer. And also, you can't charge people if you're the one that ordered the wrong part. Fans are only a couple of quid. I think this was 5-6 quid. But yeah, I'm still out of pocket now, 5-6 quid, because I ordered the wrong fan, and that was my fault for rushing. And it just goes to show that when you don't do this sort of thing as regularly as you once did, and when you're very much distracted by other very busy things in your life, it is so easy to make those mistakes. But every single time, no matter how busy you are, it is worth taking the extra 3 or 4 minutes, or, well, not even 3 or 4 minutes, it's worth taking the extra 30 to 40 seconds just to double check the part numbers or serial numbers or whatever, the specification, just to make sure that you're ordering the correct fan. So it gets even worse. My mistake is so idiotic. I should really know by now how to order replacement parts. This notebook is part of the HP Pavilion G6 1000 series. And from what I can gather online, pretty much all of the models in the 1000 series use the 3-pin fan. This fan is also for a HP Pavilion G6, but it's for a machine in the 2000 series model, which from what I can gather, most if not all of which use a 4-pin CPU fan. So yeah, crazy, idiotic mistake. And I'm annoyed with myself. You guys can probably tell. I am annoyed with myself because I could have had this completely done by now. Instead of rambling and beating myself up, I could have this machine back together and working. But I've got the wrong part, and I don't want to go fiddling and trying to butcher this to work in this. I'd rather get the correct part. Alright guys, I am back. It has been about 2 days, I think. And here we have the proper replacement fan. This actually arrived yesterday, but I didn't have any time yesterday to do this, so I've got about an hour this morning to hopefully get this completely finished, tested, quick once over clean on the outside, clean the screen, obviously put it all back together and just make sure everything works. So this is definitely the right fan this time. It is 3 pins. It looks identical to the fan that is in the machine right now, but quite a bit cleaner and hopefully quite a bit more functional. here is everything put back on the board as normal. Fan is in and we are ready to rock. So the next step is to get the machine, or at least what's left of the machine, just a screen and a case at this point. Oh, and a CD drive, can't forget the CD drive. And pop the board back in. And hopefully this machine will fire right up and be a very happy bunny. If not, we are going to have to go back to the drawing board quite desperately on this one. Alright guys, moment of truth. I think I've plugged everything back in. I've plugged the trackpad in just so we can, move the mouse, and plugged into power. Let's see what happens, man. Woo! One spinning fan. And in theory, everything should just boot the hell up, which would be marvellous. And that appears to be the case so far. So, yeah, looks like our diagnosis was correct. One burnt out fan caused by that horrific dust buildup that I've kept, by the way. Look at that, one solid piece. Nice. Put it there. So I'm going to wait for this to boot up. We'll boot into Windows, do some testing, and then reassemble this guy. It really cracks me up when people's password hints are their actual passwords. I'm surprised that it lets you do that. The whole idea of a password hint is for it to give you a quick, hint, a jog of your memory. It's like, yeah, okay, word association or whatever, scenario or memory situation association. But no, just straight up, this is my password in the hint box. Absolutely brilliant. And that is the case most of the time, to be perfectly honest, folks. If you get machines from people that aren't really computery type people that don't really care about their tech or whatever, people that just use it for the sake of using it, use it for whatever they need, Facebook, whatever, 9 times out of 10, that's what you get. So here is the machine completed and ready to go back to its owner. I've got a last little bit of screen cleaning and whatnot to do before I give it back, but I won't be giving it back for another 2 or 3 days until I cross paths with that particular person. So there's plenty of time for me to give it a quick once over. My priority now is to edit this video and get it out. But before I go, I'm going to leave you guys with one more bit of hilarious news. And that is, when I was reassembling the machine, I was pushing the keyboard back into place and everything was going fine. I'd put all of the screws back in, I was all happy, I was just doing the final push of the keyboard, and suddenly the machine sprung to life. And I was like, oh god, I didn't touch the power button. The first thing that came to mind was I've damaged the power button ribbon cable because it's just laying here underneath the keyboard. I was like, no, I've damaged that and it's shorting out or something, or it's whatever it's doing. I was like, oh god, no way. But then I realised that it booted up into a completely different environment, a completely different interface, and I was like, man, all I've done is replace the fan, what on earth is this? But it turns out, folks, it turns out that on some HP models, there is an outside of Windows environment that you can access by pressing F5. So I just jabbed F5, the machine was completely off, as you saw. It comes up, HP Quick Web. This is 100% outside of the Windows environment and a totally separate user interface, separate operating system, and it comes up like this. It doesn't take long to boot up at all. Boots up way quicker into this than it does into Windows, and it immediately presents you with a web browser. It looks to be a fully functional desktop web browser, and if you minimize the web browser, come on, or rather, okay, yeah, click on the little dashboard thing. Yeah, okay, that's better. You get an interface that allows you to do quite a few things. Write notes, look at the time, use a calculator. Pretty much anything you'd use a smartphone for, you can use on this HP Quick Web thing, which I'd be surprised if they're still including this crap with their new machines, because this is truly, you know, what you'd use your smartphone for, you know, quick web browsing, quick, you know, calculator use. This is of pretty much zero use to anybody in this day and age, I'd assume. But this machine came out in 2012, so that was kind of mid-smartphone boom, I guess, before maybe every single person on the planet had a smartphone. Or maybe not, I don't know, 2012. It's kind of hard to say. But either way, this is shocking, and it surprised me, but I'm really glad I didn't break anything. I was pushing the keyboard back down, and I jabbed F5 a couple of times, and it sprung to life, and I was like, oh god. Anyway, folks, funny stories aside, that is that particular chapter close on this purple HP machine. It is now ready to leave my workshop. Yeah, right. And go back to its rightful owner, which I'm kind of looking forward to, because it's been hanging over me for about a week now, including everything, including me being busy, slow, and ordering the wrong fan. I've had this machine for about a week and a half. First half a week doesn't really count because I didn't end up looking at it for the first 3 or 4 days. But yeah, it's just been here too long, so it's nice to get rid of it. So if you've made it this far in the video, I'd like to take the opportunity to just thank you guys, really, not just for making it this far in this video, but for being patient with me and my channel. I know it's been pretty dead for the last quarter of a year, third of a year, which is a massive shame. Potentially one of my slowest times ever since starting YouTube nearly 10 years ago, which is a shame. It really is tough for me to I guess wake up every morning and know that I've got my channel and it's really not flourishing, and not being able to invest time into it. It's painfully difficult to go through that, but I will do as much as I can, and I really do hope that there'll be a change in my life soon. I hope that things will shift around in such a way where I can be in more control of my own time, because without being too specific, with the particular job that I'm doing at the moment, a lot of time is wasted for reasons out of my control, and it's a shame because it's time in my life. But I hope that it's not going to continue for much longer. That's just the way things are at the moment, the way things are set up, and sometimes you've got to take the good, you've got to take the bad to then get the good further on down the line, and I'm kind of just working with that at the moment and hoping that I can be in much more control of my own time again very soon, because I do miss that, I really do. But it's worth it, it'll be worth it in the long run, and yeah, I'll do everything I can for the channel. I wish I could reply to more emails, comments, messages, that sort of thing, I really do, but I'll just keep feeding It's My Natural Colour with what I can, and hope that you guys can appreciate what I can put out in this particularly stressful little time that I'm going through in terms of time management and things. But life is good on the whole, so do you know what? I'm going to stop rambling. You guys know the score. I'm going to get this video edited and get it out so you guys can enjoy it as soon as possible. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next upload, which hopefully won't be too far away.